Hi there, my name is Liz Hathaway and this is my astrological look at the week ahead. It's the week starting 6th of January 2020. First of all, I want to apologise for my vlog, my mundane look at the year, for the way it so abruptly ended mid-sentence. What I was going to say there is that not only is it like for the US, really, I think, clear by the end of 2020 what direction they're going in. But I also think that for many of us, this will be a pivotal year too. That we, for many people, will have a sense of direction. They will be much more grounded. They will be much more in control or mastering, if you like, the material world, because we are moving away now. We're moving, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions in December are making the definitive shift into air. The journey started with the Maverick conjunction in Libra way back in the early 1980s. But we had that one conjunction then in Taurus where it sort of backtracked a little bit into Earth. But now the definite shift is coming. So we need to use this year. We need to bundle our strength, bundle our focus, get in connection with what we really want, because that is what Capricorn really is good at. It's great at stripping things back to the bare necessities, if you like, and to seeing what is the essence of a thing, what is its essence. And then really with Pluto and Saturn conjunct, that is a birthing moment of extreme power. And we can move forward, we can build on that self-knowledge, that deep, deep self-knowledge. So I think it's a really, really big year ahead, not just individually, but also collectively. Last week as well, I touched on this idea of projection, that we can project things. I thought it was really interesting, in the light of events in the Middle East. If we look, for example, I was talking about people with planets in that zone, that sort of zone where the cardinal action is this year. And it's really interesting, the US has Mercury ruling its 7th house, and we see that the US radix Mercury in the birth chart is at 24 degrees Cancer. So we can see that the US is caught up in this energy. If we look at Iran, it has Jupiter at 29 degrees Cancer, but it's also a sun in Aries country. So it's a lot of pride, a lot of historic strength within the soil of that country. They are a great nation, and a lot of fight in that nation too with the sun in Aries. And don't forget, we've got that long stay of Mars coming later this year. We see Iraq is in the firing line too, and certainly also Donald Trump himself. Trump has Saturn ruling his 7th house, and would you believe he has Saturn and Venus in Cancer in 24 and 26 degrees of Cancer respectively. So you can see how, he's facing a lot of enemies at home in Congress, but, that now has been sort of taken into the outside world even further, if you like, and we now have, this face-off between the US and Iran. And, we know Saturn-Pluto, when these two planets come together and they are conjunct with each other, the force that they unleash, it's a karmic conjunction. And these conjunctions throw one hell of a shadow through history. So this is a very, very worrying start, I think, for 2020, particularly as well with that long stay of Mars in Aries later in the year. If you're interested, listen back to last week's vlog. But let's dive into this week. So we start off with Jupiter on the South Node today, and then on Tuesday we have the Sun in Capricorn sextile in Neptune. I think this is a great aspect to be given at the beginning of the year. Neptune is very much about the imagination, and sometimes we need to have an idea of who we want to become. We need to have an image which isn't real yet necessarily, but it's a kind of, has a pulling power. It's a kind of, this is where we want to be. This is what we want to create. Neptune is rather like, the pictures that you see in a cookery book of that wonderful cake. you know, which inspires you to go out and get all the ingredients and get the work done. That's the Capricorn bit. That's the sun in Capricorn. You're never going to have that cake if you don't go to the shop and actually make it happen and buy the stuff. But we're being inspired in the beginning of this week by Neptune. Neptune in Pisces, new images, new films, new concepts of ourselves. There's a dreamy quality to it, yes. There's a flow quality to it, yes. Playing maybe with you know, new concepts of ourselves and who we would like to become. And, you know, this is an important kind of help, if you like, at the start of a year when there is so much earth around. You know, we need to have a kind of a picture of where we want to be going. And that's where, you know, we can really get inspiration, I think, from Neptune this week. On a more mundane level, Neptune is about the sea. It's about shipping, it's about travel across oceans and across water. It's also about the art world, but Neptune is also very much about victim and the you know, we know that Mercury, Neptune, you know, we know that the Harvey Weinstein trial is starting this week. So there's a lot of echoes of the past. Saturn is Capricorn. It's very much as well about the karma and things from the past, ghosts of the past, if you like. When we come into the weekend, though, we really start to get drawn into the energy of the first eclipse of the year, well, the first lunar eclipse anyway of this year, and that is on Friday, and it's of course tapping in right into the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which takes place 2 days later. So we have on Friday, we have the Sun-Mercury conjunction in Capricorn, and then we have this this huge lunar eclipse. If we look at the lineup of planets opposite the moon is around the North Node, of course. The North Node is in Cancer, so we really have to make an effort, I think, under this eclipse, not to forgo on our feelings, not to park them, not to bury them, not to bypass them, not to freeze them out, not to suppress them, because there is a tendency under this kind of energy, so much in Capricorn. And Capricorn is really good at being businesslike, is very good at prioritizing things, is very good at looking at what needs to happen, what has to happen, what's the agenda. And it can be businesslike to the point of cutting out all human emotion, feeling, connection. The tears dry up, you know, it's that kind of energy. It's a sort of hardness to it, which is almost inhuman. And there's a big heart in the moon in Cancer. It has a lot to give. Of course, there's, you know, an eclipse is in some ways, you know, it is asking us as well to not completely be subsumed in feelings, not to let the feelings run away with us to the extent that we become, you know, just this heap of tears. You know, we have to be balanced, because the opposition, particularly though this time with so many planets in Capricorn, the opposition does actually demand, because there are two sides to it, that we somehow, despite everything, keep hold of our humanity, keep hold of, you know, the need, for example, if we think in terms of the Middle East, to remember the people on the ground. The moon is about the people. It's about those people that, if we take a very hardened view of things, are the most likely to suffer. And they're quite often, you know, the children, they're quite often the elderly. These are the people that are less able to run, in a way. So keeping a heart in the weekend, I think, is the challenge. Keeping some sense of humanity, some sense of perspective, and not getting totally bewitched, if you like, by the kind of language that is Saturn-Pluto, which is buff, die hard, fist on the table, buff. You know, it can be, certainly because, you know, on the day of the conjunction, we see Mercury coming in between Saturn and Pluto. It's sort of almost like, hey guys, move up a little bit. Can I just squeeze my message in here? You know, what kind of messages are going to be squozing in there as Saturn meets Pluto this weekend? Because that's what Mercury's doing. He's the messenger of the gods. What kind of message can Mercury, what kind of new energy, young energy? Mercury is also always it's always the kind of this younger voice. What new voices could we possibly get to hear this weekend? And then when we get to Monday next week, it's the Sun's turn, and then it's Sun, Pluto, Saturn, because after the conjunction, what we get to see is Saturn moving ahead of Pluto. Saturn becomes the trailblazer. Saturn is then clearing the road, if you like, moving towards Aquarius. It's dipping its toes in Aquarius from March. So there is this shift there. There's a shift happening. But it's a very, very demanding eclipse. And I think what I would suggest, certainly as it's coming into the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, is to keep hold of the feeling. Don't get cut off from the source. That's the challenge. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I wish you an inspired week. Remember that Neptune, that lovely Neptune at the beginning of the week. Try and get a picture of who you want to be. What energy do you want to manifest? And try to think of a path for yourself. Through Mercury is very close to the Sun. He brings messages home. We see Mercury as well, you know, is conjunct the Sun on Friday. Try and bring some message to the heart, which embodies the Saturn-Pluto power, but does it in a way that is a beacon and that is a powerful force in the world for good. Thanks for listening.